This is Physics 2211, Lab 4, Spring Motion. The objective of this lab is to compare the predicted and observed motion of a spring with an attached mass, and to plot the energy changes in the model. As far as the results go, there is no change in the energy of the system, and the simulation shows results in a perfect system. Therefore, their results are higher than their experimental counterparts. Some of the fundamental principles we needed to know for this lab was Newton's second law, the equation for spring force, the equation for gravitational force, and the work-energy principle. Some of the details we needed to know for the experiment was the object's mass, which was 0.402 kilograms, the relaxed length of the spring, which was 0.04 meters, the initial position of the mass, which was negative 0.124 in the x direction, and negative 0.644 in the y direction, and that the initial velocity was equal to 0. This is the video that we needed to analyze. As you can see, the mass is hanging right there, and the calibration length was 0.07 meters. As you watch the video, you can tell that the spring's trajectory is relatively constant throughout its entire motion. And if you look at the graph that's plotted, you can see that a lot of the data output was in a very smooth curve. The output was then placed into an Excel spreadsheet and then entered into my code. Some of the things that I needed to change in the code was the spring constant, which I calculated to be 5.97, and the relaxed length, which was 0.04 meters. In order to find the length of the spring, found that it was L equals ball.pos minus string.pos, just to find the length of the spring at that current time. As you can go through, you can see some of the other places I needed to change the code, which is right here, just finding the kinetic energy of the spring mass system, the gravitational potential energy of the system, and the spring potential energy of the spring mass system. And I chose to make the t less than 9.307, as that is the amount of time it takes in the video for the spring to make its full the length of the video. However, whenever I go to run this program, obviously there's something wrong with the code, so I was not able to complete that part of the experiment. However, I checked with another member of our class to see how the correct code runs, and that is how I was able to get some of my results. And because this experiment is in a closed environment, we are able to conclude that the change in energy is equal to 0. And whenever you compare the experimental data to the simulated data, you will notice that as the experiment goes on, the simulated data has higher results. This is due to the air resistance that is not accounted for in the simulation. In conclusion, despite not being able to get my VPython simulation to work, I was still able to validate my results from the tracker video through my understanding of physics concepts and through some comparison to a working code. The energy principle is confirmed in this experiment, as the results from the tracker code show a very slight decrease in oscillation distances. This can be easily accounted for due to air resistance and thermal energy. The x oscillation period is 1.615 seconds, and the y oscillation period is 1.614 seconds, which they are supposed to be equivalent. However, that is only in a perfect experiment, because there's air resistance, drag, and the constant force of gravity acting upon the entire system, the y oscillation period is shorter than the x oscillation period. Thank you very much.